Chris Toller. He's the director of the Black Voter Project, co-founder of Black Insights Research, joins me now from Sacramento. And again, all of these people, all of these folks, Chris, they going on and on and on. And now everybody and their mama want to analyze the black vote. Okay, and then what all these networks are doing, sending these silly-ass reporters out there to interview brothers playing basketball. But here's what they never ask, Chris. They never first say, are you registered? Then they never asked, if you are registered, when's the last time you voted? So then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, NBC, we went out and talked to a group of black men, and all of them are voting for Trump. When Don Lemon was walking around talking to people, and all these networks have done that, but they don't ask that important question. First, are you registered? Two, do you vote? And everybody and their mama now got an opinion on black men, and none of them are actually looking at data. And the last point here, Chris, before I go to you, they just take whatever poll white mainstream media puts out and just take it as fact. I saw one, oh my goodness, according to this poll, Donald Trump is getting 26% of the black vote. Another poll, 2 out of 5 black men are gonna vote for Donald Trump. And I'm like, not now one black poll has showed any of that.
Nothing, Roland. Thanks again for having me on. I think that, just to reiterate this point, the narrative about black men voting for Trump has been blown out of proportion ever since Biden was the nominee. Even back then, the number of black men supporting Trump was not any higher than in 2020. And the data that I have suggests that it's actually dropped since Harris took over the ticket. And so we're seeing less black men saying that they're going to vote for Trump now than we did when Biden was the nominee. And so that number has been steadily decreasing. We really expect it to continue to decrease, especially as we move towards the election. And we actually are looking, as you said, at people that are actually going to vote rather than those that are just being polled. And a lot of times you see these likely voter polls, but then you look at the black subsample where they are just trying to get people in, right? They don't have any history or real record of polling black folk. And so they end up with a good percent of even their likely voter sample is made up of people who haven't voted, didn't even vote in 2020. And so right now we've even been modeling at Black Insights the way that black men vote and what actually predicts whether or not black men are going to support Trump versus someone else. And other than the idea of Trump as a threat being a major factor determining whether or not black men are going to support Trump, it's also whether or not you voted in the past, specifically in 2020. And one of the most forceful predictors as to whether or not a black man says that they're going to support Trump is if they did not vote in 2020. If they voted in 2020, they are far less likely to say that they're going to support Trump this time around.
Okay, and so when we look at this, I don't understand. Black men have the lowest percentage of anyone voting for Donald Trump. Why are they not talking to these white men and Latino men and Asian American men?
Yeah, at this point, it really does seem like the same old narratives being set up to try and scapegoat black men when it's all said and done. If for some reason Harris doesn't win and loses this election, as you mentioned, black men not only have a higher rate of voting for the Democrats, the lowest rate of voting for Trump of any men, race or ethnic group, but even vote at higher rates than both white women and Latino or Hispanic women. And so the only group that they don't match when it comes to their support for the Democratic Party is black women. And there is a conversation to be had there, one that probably should be internal within the black community as to why black men and black women, why there is still a gender gap there. But to say that black men are supporting Trump or are not supporting the Democrats at any significant rate is ridiculous when looking at the complete picture, right, and the full story of the electorate.
And not only that, the last election, 70% of the electorate was white. So now I'm just trying to figure out, how is the whole election on black people? Last I checked, I think it's more white people in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Last I checked. Or is that just me?
No, you're absolutely right. To that point, I think that what we're finding when we look at the polls specifically is that there are very few undecided voters left. We are in a very extremely polarized electorate, polarized political times. And so really, right, there's very little room amongst any racial ethnic group to try and sway people. And so for me, the reason why black voters are so important, though, is because of turnout numbers. And if black folks can get to vote, are turning out at a greater percentage than they are of the population, if they are overrepresented in the electorate, then that tremendously helps to the Democratic Party, right? Because, every 100 people that turn out, every 100 black people that vote, 80 to 90 of them are going to vote Democrat. And so it really makes sense for the Democrats to target black people rather than continue to question whether or not black people, and specifically black men, are faithful in their support.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message because you work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.